My name is Kwabena Chenchen. Many thanks for joining us here on News Today. To our very first story, the Tsar and the flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, has taken a swipe at members of parliament questioning their competence and their ability to enact good laws for Ghana. Speaking to Joy News in an exclusive interview, Dr. Ndum said the Ghanaian electorate has failed to elect competent leaders to run government and parliament. Dr. Ndum says he has continually sold competence, but the electorates rather choose vote buying over his promise for development.
You go to parliament, you see some people sitting there, and you hear what comes out of their mouth, and you wonder, how did this man or this woman get to convince some thousands of people that they should vote for them to go to parliament? And in the same way, you look at the performance of people in government, and you say, so how did this man manage to get votes so that he can become president of this republic? So sometimes it can get complex, but it's a simple matter that we need to move the electorate to go beyond what they are used to. And that is a challenge for people like myself, because when you are selling competence, when you're selling, I can do this, people want to see what is it that you can do. And some of them, they don't pay taxes, so there's no accountability for them. So for them, any little thing that they get is fine. Some people also, they expect nothing from government, that they know they won't get anything. And so they say, Obiara Basa. And so if we're going to go and vote, whoever gives me 10 cedis, 50 cedis, or some little thing, a T-shirt or whatever, that's who they'll go and vote for. Those things, they work against people like myself, because what we're selling is our competence, our ability to get things done.
But for that full, in-depth interview with the flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, make sure to tune in to your current affairs show, The Pulse, which airs on this same channel at 3 p.m. Now, the Public Accounts Committee is to probe audited accounts of JIDA, the Youth Employment Agency, and the Ministry of Justice as it resumes sitting today. The issues center on payment of salaries to underserving employees as well as other infractions in the agencies. The committee is currently in a closed meeting with the Attorney General and officials of the Employment Ministry. Elton Brober is in Parliament and is joining me now via phone with a lot more details on what to expect today. So Elton, tell us a lot more about what will be happening today at this park sitting.
Well, I think the item is just one. They are dealing with the Auditor General's report covering the period 2011, 2012, and 2013 in respect of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, Ministry of Youth and Sports. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice is also here to assist in the issues that are before the committee. I'm told that she's not here to respond to matters relating to her ministry, but to assist the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, responding to issues especially regarding monies paid to the Ghana Youth and the then Ghana Youth Entrepreneurial and Employment Agency, JIDA, how some monies were given to some service providers, and I'm sure that we are all aware of about what happened after the fact that some of the service providers failed to execute their part of the contract, but yet they were paid. There's also some issue about some people who did not pass the promotional exam. This is captured in the 2013 Auditor General's report, but yet they were paid some monies amounting to over 400 million Ghana cedis. As to what government has done about this particular, audit, infractions identified within the operations of JIDA, that is the reason why the Sector Minister, Haruna Idrisu, together with his deputy and the Minister for Youth and Sports, Edwin Lante van der Poel, and the Attorney General will be here to respond to. What we've been told by the Sector Minister, Haruna Idrisu, is that he will respond to the administrative issues, but matters relating to law and what government has done in respect of some court decisions taken will be handled by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. So we are in for really what has happened so far regarding monies paid to JIDA and paid to some service providers, and what government has done so far in recovering some of these illegal monies paid.
Right. Elton, many thanks for that update. And that was Parliamentary Correspondent Elton Brober bringing us a lot more updates on what to expect now. And as you can see on your TV screens, we brought you a bit of visuals of what is currently happening now. Let's cross over live now to Parliament and bring you excerpts of that very park sitting.
Alhassan Swali Udandawa, MP for Karga, member of the committee.
Kwesi Ajimai Gentutu, MP for Tai, member of the committee.
Theophilus Tetechai, member of the committee, representing the ranking member who is currently indisposed.
Isaac Kwame Esiama, Achumamponwa, member.
Robert Safo Mensah is a fund of member.
My name is David Oponkusi, MP for Fwase, I live in the Eastern Region, member.
Solomon Boa, MP for Bunkrugu, member.
Abna Osei Asari, MP for Etiwa East and a member of the committee.
Kingsley Abuaji Jedu, MP for Bibiani Amiansu Bekwai, member of the committee.
Abba Hansen, clerk to the committee.
Samuel Atta Achia, the member of parliament for Achimabwa South, the vice chair of the committee.
Kukwajima Menu, MP for Doma Central and chairman of the committee. Colleagues, on your behalf, I would like to welcome the ministers who have created time to attend to our invitation. We also invited the Minister for Finance. Unfortunately, because of these IMF challenges and the engagement, he is away with his deputies, and therefore they have requested and we have granted them space to come back later. We may meet them in course of the week. There is one particular outstanding thing that they should come to respond to, the excess budgetary releases, and we will flag that one to take it away from today's interrogation. We'll bring it back when we meet with them, I think on Friday or sometime next week. So, ministers, you are welcome. We've met here again today to continue with the engagement we had with you on matters relating to JIDA, or what we call the Youth Employment Agency. Apart from issues relating to JIDA, it looks like we finished all those issues with the youth and sports that have been reported in the reports that we are considering. The MDA's reports for 2012, 13, 2011, 12, and 13 that have been submitted to Parliament by the Auditor General. So this is just the continuation of where we left off the other time that we met. We requested some information from the Attorney General that has duly been filed, and we have circulated, do a bit late to committee members. And I think we'll concentrate on JIDA matters, and then when we finish with that, we will know where we'll go from there. So I thank you very much, colleagues, for also creating time to cut off whatever you are doing in your constituencies to come. And we believe that by close of day, we should have completed, or we should be able to finish with the JIDA matters so that we can bring our work in the three particular reports, MDAs, to a conclusion. So we thank you very much once again. Honourable Minister, you want to say something?
Yeah, to thank you for the opportunity to provide further clarifications to your examination of the books and the report of the Auditor General, and to appreciate that the Attorney General has given a comprehensive response to many of the issues which were outstanding. And Chairman, to emphasize that the youth employment, the policy initiative to have a specific policy framework to support the employment of young persons remain a political and a national imperative. And I think that we should conceive it as a threat to our national security if we are unable to absorb many of our young people. And also to further appreciate the dichotomy between skilled youth and unskilled youth. There is a category which still needs their skills to be enhanced. And I should trust that subsequent to the ministerial report, which captured many of these issues, government has taken major steps at least one of the basic things which was lacking was the absence of a legal framework. That has been done, and there is now a structured, legally created entity of a youth employment agency, which has so absorbed some of the assets and liabilities of the agency. I should also appreciate and thank the Auditor General for highlighting many of the issues that remained unanswered. And I believe that our presence here today will be to provide further clarity so that all of us can collectively, under the ambit of the Youth Employment Agency, offer opportunity to many of our young people who are yearning to contribute to their own self-development and the development of our country in the capacity of beneficiaries of the Youth Employment Agency. I thank you, Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Minister, I can see that the issue of unemployment of the youth is your chief concern. Can you tell the committee the chasm between the figures of youth unemployment and what you have succeeded in terms of jobs for them?
Honorable Minister, can you hold your breath? Honorable Vice, I think we will allow the ranking member to do his opening remarks before we zoom in. If you have nothing to say, then I will accept the question.
Well, just to welcome the ministers. And for us, it is about a continuation of what we started earlier on. And I believe that the report that they brought to us will satisfactorily answer the questions that we are all seeking for. And Chairman, that is my only comment.
Thank you very much. So now, Minister, I think you would like to answer that question.
Chairman, let me thank my colleague and senior at the bar, and to say that we rely on statistics generally from the Statistical Service under the Ministry of Finance. In terms of our projection of the unemployment problem in the country, only a week ago, I had the privilege and honor to join some expert group at the World Bank to look at specifically the unemployment numbers affecting young people. And it's quite worrying if you look at the category of young people, especially from JSS to SSS, who are not able to climb the educational ladder. We need to cater by way of skills mismatch and skills gap for that category. There is also the category of university and polytechnic graduates that, because the economy is not expanding enough and because of rationalized public policy decisions on compensation, we are not able to absorb many of them, also create another epoch of unemployment for that category. And we also generally have the situation where many out of school are not able to get employed because of the wrong and erroneous notion that the public sector remains the most viable and most important employer of our country. We need to disabuse the minds of our people, get the public and the private sector to work together very closely. In my view, the private sector should be the incubator of jobs, and government should provide an enabling environment for them. So I would share your thinking that growing youth unemployment, particularly for young females, is a problem that we need to address. In terms of numbers, the Youth Employment Agency, subject to Parliament's appropriation, is looking at 100,000. And if I want to share some numbers, if you had to pay each person an allowance of 200 or 250 or 300 Ghana cedis, you would need about 360 million annually in order to recruit 100,000. If we were to provide 760 million or thereabout, we should be able to recruit 200,000 persons for youth employment. So it is a function of the performance of the national economy and allocations that Parliament may generously make to support the Youth Employment Agency. But I should also thank Parliament that at least part of what you are looking at, we now have a legislation where it's earmarked that we say that 80% of communication service tax be dedicated to support youth employment, 10% of GET fund be dedicated to support youth employment, and 5% of the GET fund be dedicated to support youth employment. So going into the future, I can see a budget of 500 to 700 million every other year dedicated for skills building and for employment of young persons. And for for me, that is very encouraging. We only need to clear some of these outstanding arrears and liabilities that were inherited in the implementation of a noble initiative to cater for young people. So today, we are looking at 100,000 persons. And Chairman, let me just share this, which gives an eloquent pronouncement on the state of youth unemployment. Look at the rise for police forms, youth and security agencies.
Honourable Minister, I think we will spare that agony because we have a lot of issues to go through. The follow-up question, please.
I have a follow-up question. Yes, Honourable Minister, if you take a very clinical look at the report, to what extent would you say that these levels of financial and discipline seriously undermined the policy to give jobs to the youth? Because this is a very, very, very serious matter. If you look at the extent and the impunity of pillage of resources intended for the policy you've so cleverly underlined, is it not a self-undermining thing that we are seeing?
If I can appreciate which report, are you referring to the Auditor General, the Ministerial Impact Assessment, or some other report?
The Auditor General's report, which is showing the extent of hemorrhage of huge sums of money intended for the policy of providing work for the youth that you are eloquently defending. That is the one which is the 31st December 2013. This is what is on the table currently.
Appreciated. Chairman and members of this August committee, as I indicated earlier, the Auditor General has done what is right and stating what has not been properly accounted for. And as you may well be...
So that was a live feed from Parliament where the Public Accounts Committee has resumed sitting today, and you did just see there a short while ago the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Haruna Idris, responding to a number of questions. Also in your short earlier was the Minister for Justice and Attorney General Marietta Bro Apia Opong. Also, we'll bring you a lot more of this in subsequent bulletins. But time now for a break here on News Today. We'll return shortly with a lot more stories. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us here on News Today to some more stories now. And the decision to transfer the Accra Region Police Commander, COP George Ekufu Dampare, has come as a surprise. Joy News has learned that COP Dampare is moving to head the Police Command and Staff College at Winneba in the Central Region. His transfer takes immediate effect after serving the command for just 6 months, and that's after previously serving as Director General in charge of finance at the Ghana Police Service. Head of our security desk, Jifa Bampo, joins me now in studio with more on this quite sudden transfer, I would say. But Jifa, many thanks for joining us. But Jifa, we are told this is not an isolated case.
Yes,
it's part of a shake-up in the service. Yes,
there's a list of 16 members, senior police officers who've been transferred across the country. Okay. But the most significant, of course, is the transfer of COP Dr. Dampare, and he's going to the police college in Winneba. But he will be his position will be taken up by his deputy, ACP Timothy Benga Yosa. He was his deputy here in Accra, and he now becomes the Accra Region Police Commander. Okay. There are other significant changes. As you know, the Eastern Regional Police Commander passed on, DCOP Awuni. He is now being replaced by DCOP Peter Kinjenai, who used to be the Volta Regional Police Commander. Okay. And he, in turn, will be replaced by ACP Redima Dejo. So he's moving to the Volta region now as Regional Commander. The other significant change is DCOP Ampabeni, who was in charge of PIPs. He will now be the Director General in charge of Special Duties. So those are the key changes out of 16 that have been released today.
I see, and all these are contained in a statement that has been released. Now, does this statement in any way speak of reasons why there's this shake-up?
No. And typical of the Ghana Police Service, they never tell you why anyone has been transferred to any place. But for those who work in the service, they tend to expect that they will be transferred as and when without notice. So for many of the officers, this is just a routine shake-up. Of course, there are always speculations depending on who is moving to where and when, and the timing of the situation that may generate a kind of speculation about whether this was the right decision, whether it's a surprise move, or whether really there was something behind that decision. And that's why, with reference to COP Dampare, there's a lot of discussion and speculation about why he's being moved.
And obviously that has been the most surprising. Has there been any reaction from him, for instance?
I spoke to him.
Okay.
What he tells me is that it's all part of the job. And so for him, it's expected that you serve at the pleasure of the IGP. He decides when you move, where you move to, and the like. So for him, it's not a case of disappointment or anything. It's more a case of, well, that's the job and one has to accept it and move on.
I see. Now, during his 6-month tenure, well, we do know that he did a lot, but any key things that stand out, even in his pretty short period as commander here in the Greater Accra region?
I was quite an active commander, I must say. He was quite around the region. But I would say that most people would remember him famously for apprehending the suspect in the J.P. Dankwa Edu murder case. The late Ibwakwanoff MP was murdered in his home at Shashi some months ago. Within 24 hours, he was asked to hand over that case to the CID, which he did. But he undertook, from what I'm told, a parallel investigation and apprehended the suspect we now know of, Daniel Esiedu, and then handed him over to the police CID. But beyond that, he initiated an action plan for policing in the Accra region because he identified broad law enforcement challenges, crime, armed robbery, and also cases of police civilian problems. So he developed a strategy on 2 levels. One, family engagements for those who suffered at the hands of the police so that they would, come to some closure. And then for those who had been victims of violent crimes, ensure that the perpetrators were arrested and there were prosecutions to carry everything to a logical conclusion. Where there is no conclusion, make an effort to bring in some, should I say, counseling and the like for the family so that they can come to a closure. But I think what most people will also remember him for in the news is that this is an election year. True. The IGP directed that all regional commands set up political desks, so they did. But he took it a step further. He quickly began engaging with the political parties, began engaging with civil society. He engaged with the National Peace Council, all in an effort to identify what would be the issues to be looking out for, areas for the police to step up their game and their effort in order to preserve peace before, during, and after the elections. So it's quite a loss, I must say, that he's had to leave at this crucial time, just 6 months to election. So one should hope that what he has started will continue, because Accra has some hotspots, and it will be important that all those things are kept at a significant level so that there's no violence.
Okay, Jifa, many thanks for that update. And that was Jifa Bampo. She's an editor here at the Multimedia Group, and indeed she's also in charge of our security desk here at Joy News. We'll be bringing you a lot more on this very release by the Ghana Police Command and be telling you a lot more about what this new person who is replacing COP George Akuffo Dampare is also bringing to the table in subsequent bulletins. But let's still stay with the issues of security. And the Christian Council of Ghana is calling for political discipline on the part of leading political parties ahead of the November polls. The just ended limited registration exercise witnessed pockets of violence and reports of registration of minors in some parts of the country. But speaking on Multi TV's magazine program AM Show, General Secretary for the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong, says the political class is setting the bad precedents.
This is one serious issue that has come to us after the exercise. The fact that as a nation, we need to address the issue of political discipline. In fact, it should have been a simple exercise. If you are 18 now, go and register. If you are above 18 and you have not had that opportunity, now you have it. Go with XYZ. If you have passport, go with it. If you have a driver's license, go with it. If you don't have, get people from the community to go and testify. Now the accusation and counter-accusation, and I must say, coming from the two main political parties. I didn't hear much about CPP, NDP, PNC. The accusations, MPP accusing NDC, NDC accusing MPP. So the two leading political party that they are registering minors, they are bringing foreigners in, we won't allow them and all that. Then you also find senior members of these two political parties admitting publicly that we are registering minor, even though they also add that it's not good, but we are doing it. And then the harsh, the strong words, being used to address. And still you had that from the two main political parties insulting, attacking, and then some extreme slappings, and you are hearing cutlasses and guns and stuff like that. Now, when you find yourself in this, now you say, where is political discipline in this electoral process? Because now when we call somebody honorable or your excellency and all that, what it suggests to me that these are the people who carry the spirit and values of this country, and so they deserve our respect. So when we come to this point, you expect the excellencies and the honorables to show the way, because we're dealing with young people who have hit 18 years. Now, this is the time we must nurture national values, national spirit in these young people. Then you get those who are supposed to know better. Yes, they must encourage the young people. There must be role models. Come, politics is good for us. Be part of it. Look at me. But in the process, I think we are teaching Ghanaian young people bad stories.
The Ghana Water Company Limited has downplayed suggestions that water from its Woja treatment plant is impure and unsafe for consumption. Speaking on Newsdesk a short while ago, Director of Communications for the company, Stanley Marty, said a report by the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research purporting that the treated water from Woja still had elements of algae was not true, adding that the water company had done more than enough to ensure that the water they provide for consumers is safe for consumption.
Well, I think that is wrong. It's not right. But then I would want that we put the discussion in context. Okay. Now, the research was done at our Woja treatment plant and the Densu River. Now, we all know that the Densu River is polluted, and for a very long time, we have been working on reducing the pollution of the river body. So we've done a lot of work in that area with the Water Resource Commission and other NGOs and all that, so that we could reduce the levels of pollution. So we are aware that the raw water is polluted, and we are aware that there's algae. Even if you look at the raw water with your naked eye, you will see that there's algae in the water. So we are aware about that. But then we also know of the dangers that algae poses to the human body. So as Ghana Water Company Limited, we have been doing everything possible to make sure that these things are kept.
The CSIR, Dr. Joseph Aduampofo, insists continuous consumption of water from Woja could lead to long-term complications that may cause kidney problems and nervous reactions. He maintains that data they have from last year suggests that water from Woja is still not safe for consumption.
We've realized that it has passed the limit, the minimum limit, 1 milligram per liter of the toxin, and that is why we are calling on all stakeholders to step up, including Ghana Water Company and then Water Resource Commission, and then the society. Since people are adding more waste into the water, they are adding fertilizer, waste to other waste products from homes and from industry. So the water is becoming more green, the Woja water. And the more green, the more algae and the more agar toxin. But the treatment plant we are using was not designed to remove the agar toxin, and that's why we are calling on Water Company to ask Water Resource Commission to stop people from polluting the Woja. This year we did for the algae, which produces the toxin. You see, there are two things. You check the agar level, and then you check the toxin. If the AG is increasing, the thousand increase. The last time we did the thousand was 2011, and it was 0.9. But now the AG has doubled, which means AG 1,000 will go up. It started about 6 years now.
You started when?
About 6 years now.
6 years?
Yes, every year. You have long-term effect, one on kidney.
Kidney?
Kidney. You can also have on liver. You see, all these filter the blood, and then you can have nervous reactions too. You can have that.
Well, time now for some business here on News Today with John Kujamako, who is standing by with a lot more. Stay with us.
Now it's time for some business, and the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has kicked against plans by government to merge the operations of Tema Oil Refinery and the bulk oil storage and transport company BOST. The center believes this has the potential to collapse the refinery and marketing of petroleum products in Ghana. Government last year announced plans to merge the two institutions as part of efforts to revamp the once vibrant national oil refinery. The plan would allow BOST supply TOR with crude oil to be refined, while TOR would in turn sell to BOST petroleum products after refinery. Executive Director of the center, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, tells Joy Business the deal it pursued would not be in the interest of the economy.
TOR has a strategic role to play to refine products, but TOR does not operate as a retailer. Okay? This is why we have OMCs. And thereby, in order for us to inject competition, you have several OMCs because of the deregulated regime that we have. If TOR is going to now become a trader on our domestic market, then we are going to kill all the OMCs. Now, how is TOR going to do this? TOR is now becoming consolidated with BOST. So BOST brings in crude, and TOR will refine the crude for BOST. What does BOST do with that crude? BOST is supposed to keep strategic reserves for us. It is not supposed to trade. But BOST is forcing, OMCs to take, refined product from it. And so by doing that, you are killing the downstream petroleum industry.
Still in the oil industry, an oil marketing company, GOIL, said it's been able to raise a substantial amount of funds from its shareholders as part of its right issue. GOIL last week began the process to raise some 155 million Ghana cedis from its shareholders and possibly the investing public. It is hoping to use funds raised to improve its balance sheet, expand its retail outlet, acquire a lubricant blending plant, and expand facilities at the Takoradi Harbour. The proceeds of the offer has already been underwritten by finance institutions, Belsa Capital. Lead transaction advisor Patrick Kingsley tells Joy Business he expects the offer to be oversubscribed when it closes next week.
As you remember, we opened the rights issue on the 3rd of May, and it's traveling till the 18th of May. That's next Wednesday. So that's how short the time. But so far, so good. We are seeing a lot of interest from existing shareholders and some substantial interest from non-shareholders as well. I'm sure you recall that we call it a renounceable rights issue, which means that the rights issue is available to existing shareholders, and also non-shareholders as well can put in applications, and if there are any shares available, they can also pick it up. We expect that the rights issue will be oversubscribed, and for the benefit of your viewers, oversubscription means the number of shares which GOIL is issuing as part of this rights issue is 139 million plus change. And oversubscription means more people will apply, and therefore the demand for the shares will be more than that 139 million. That's what we expect, and we are seeing some good indications in that direction.
So that'll be it for business. You can join me for more business story between 1 and 1:30 on the marketplace this afternoon. We'll be looking at the central bank's decision to actually maintain the monetary policy rate, its implications, and what it means for you when you get to that bank for some loans. My name is John Kojo Amwako. Up next is your sport.
Let's return to Parliament, where the Minister for Justice and Attorney General Marita Buruapia-Opon is responding to questions at the Public Accounts Committee hearing today.
Please, colleagues. Wait a little while. Honorable Tacha.
Honorable Attorney General, I'll crave your kind indulgence for the benefit of the committee if you could furnish us with the directors and the shareholders of these service providers. Because I am of the humble view that these could be fronts for all manner of things. So we will not be able to digest what we are doing properly unless we know the human persons behind these companies. And if you'll be able to, bring it as part of your, a supplementary report. Oh, please. Oh, what is it? Just say because. No, this is not the auditor's job.
Police, allow the Vice Chairman to land, please.
In fact, what I'm asking the Attorney General to do, she's not said it's Herculean. So why are you trying to interrupt? She's not saying that this is something which is impossible. In fact, the Registrar General is under Attorney General. So this is something which is harmless. By the press of the button, we know all the directors and the shareholders. AJ, is that a tall order?
I think that the Herculean nature of the task will arise when you talk about fronting. As for what is in the public record, it's there. The directors, the addresses is there, and we can easily get that. But
well, that was an update on the Public Accounts Committee sitting, which is currently ongoing at Parliament House. And we do know that the Attorney General is there responding to a few questions. Also, there is the Minister for Labour Relations, Haruna Idris. We'll be bringing you a lot more on this, excerpts of it in our subsequent bulletins, particularly our news and news analysis program, The Pulse, which airs at 3 p.m. on this same channel. But that's how I wrap up on News Today this afternoon on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Kwabena Chenche. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for your company.